There you go. 3, 4. Hello everyone, I'm Alan Thrall, here at Untamed Strength Gym in Sacramento, California. Hitting up some jumps. I'm gonna do some stationary reverse lunges. So in this video, I want to talk about some advice, some tips for those of you who are teaching a young kid how to barbell squat. When I say young kid, I'm referring to like 10, 11, 12, preteen, maybe even teenagers. I'm not talking about 5-year-olds and 6-year-olds. People will ask me, when do you think I should start? Or when am I going to teach my son or my daughter how to do a barbell back squat? There's no rush at all. I think that when they're that young, hard play on a jungle gym, monkey bars, jumping, landing, wrestling, tumbling, gymnastics type stuff, I think is all they need. That's plenty. But once they eventually develop and they need some strength training, whether they're playing sports or whatever the case is, these are some tips for teaching them how to barbell back squat. Now, this could be applied to front squat as well, I suppose. Now, the reason I'm making this video for teaching young kids how to barbell squat, this population comes with a unique set of challenges. Those challenges being that they struggle with balance, they lack coordination, they don't have much confidence, they don't have very good body awareness, kinesthetic awareness. They're also not very strong, they're weak. And so I'm painting with a broad brush here. Some kids are more athletic than others, but generally speaking, this is the type of lifter that I'm coaching if they're young, 10, 11, 12 years old. And so when you tell them to put weight on their back, squat all the way down, stand all the way up without moving your feet, and repeat it with repeatable technique, it can be a challenge. So some of these tips and this advice I'm gonna give you hopefully will smooth out that coaching process. So the first thing I'll discuss is squat depth. This is gonna be one of the biggest challenges coaching a young lifter, but it's also gonna be the most important thing in this video. I could just make the video about this and end it there, but I do have a few tips. So this is the most important tip, and it's about squat depth. It can be challenging to get a kid to sit all the way down and stand all the way up with weight on their back. Now, I don't think that they have tight muscles or tight joints or they're really limited in flexibility. I think that it's hugely a confidence issue. They just don't have the confidence to sit all the way down and stand all the way up with this weight on their back. The first thing I'll have them do is just a long pause squat. So I'll tell them, sit all the way down, stay down there, stand up when I tell you to. So I'll say, they'll go down, pause, 1001, 1002, 1003, up. That's gonna give them some incentive to squat down lower, to squat all the way down, because it is easy to hold a pause squat at the very bottom of a squat than it is at 90 degrees. When you squat all the way down, you're holding yourself there structurally. Your hamstrings are sitting on your calves, kind of like a catcher in baseball. It is easier to sit down in this position than it is to hold for a long 4 or 5 seconds at 90 degrees or above 90 degrees. So that might work, just to have them do a long pause squat. My preferred bar for reverse lunges has been SSB. This is a cambered bar. SSB will sit in place, so you really don't even have to use your hands. But I want to try the cambered bar. It does swing a little tiny bit more, but I can put my hands down here, which is comfortable. Okay, so you've tried pause squats. Pause squats ain't working. You can do box squats. I don't have anything against box squats. You can make box squats work. I just have a lot to say about box squats. So the first thing is, one, it requires extra equipment, which I'm not crazy about, and it's not cheap equipment, depending on the box you get. If you get like something like this ridiculous rogue box squat, this thing is, one, is expensive, two, it's enormous. It's very cumbersome. This thing's like 100 pounds. So if you're in a busy gym or a big gym, you gotta go all the way across the gym, pull this thing over here. If you don't own your own gym or you're not training out of your garage, and you can't obviously bring this thing to the gym with you, you're not gonna carry it in your gym bag. And then if you have multiple athletes and you have to adjust the box, it can be a pain. If you have multiple athletes in separate racks, you need multiple boxes. There are smaller boxes, but that would be the first thing that I'm not crazy about with this, with having to use the box. The main thing I don't like about using a box for box squats is the fact that you're putting a hard surface underneath their hips between the bar and their tailbone, and kids will want to kind of bounce off the box with the weight. And I'm not crazy about that. So I will tell them to slow down and to pause on the box, which helps sometimes. But what they'll usually do is, as they're squatting down, they'll anticipate where the box is at and they'll collapse and rest on the box. They'll rock back and then rock forward, which is not the style of squat that I want to coach. So another option, you could use a bench, which is a soft pad, but the bench height is not adjustable, and I find that for most kids, the bench is too high to squat down to. You could use toppers. They do have these soft toppers that would get rid of some of that, the hard surface I was talking about, to where you're trying to bounce off the box. So that could get rid of some of that when you go down and up. You could also buy a soft box, like this. So that could work. So sometimes using the box for a box squat is just more of a pain. So what I've tried to do in the past, and this was quite a while ago, I abandoned it quickly because it doesn't work very well. I would just have them do a pin squat. So with safety set up, I'll tell them squat down, wait until the bar touches the pins, pause, and then stand back up. What happens when they're trying to do that is they'll squat down and then they'll stop squatting with their lower body. They'll stop sitting their hips down and they'll just start bending over. So they'll go down and then they want to lower the bar to the pins, which is obviously not how I want them to squat. So they're focused more on getting the bar to touch the pins than they are focused on what their lower body's doing. So I don't use pin squats very often. Pin squats are great, but not for teaching someone how to squat. Enter the medicine ball. I took this idea and 100% stole this from Will Rattel. I see him doing it with his athletes, and I'm actually not sure why he does it. I've never heard him say why he does it, but I thought, I'm gonna try this. So I don't know exactly why he does it. Maybe for the same reasons, maybe not. Using a medicine ball. One, it can double as actual medicine ball. You can do medicine ball stuff with this, but you can also use it for box squats. So one, the height of this works really well for almost all athletes that I coach, or all kids that I coach. So 5 feet to 6 feet tall, everyone can use this, and the depth works pretty well. Yeah, if you're 6'5" or 4'5", training a 6'5" or 4'5" kid, this is gonna vary a little bit. But for most kids, this works as a good depth gauge. So the reason I like this is because, one, it's soft and squishy, so they can use a little bit of rebound, right? A little stretch reflex, and it's not sitting and bouncing off a hard surface. But it's soft enough that they can't rest on it. They can't pause or collapse and rest on the ball. It's too soft with weight on their back. It's gonna squish too much or roll around. So they have less reason to collapse onto the ball. So I'll just put this ball right between their heels, and that also encourages them to continue squatting with their lower body. Sit your hips down, let your hips drop until it touches the ball. So if they're squatting down and they want to keep falling forward like this, they're not going to get to the ball. So they are encouraged to sit their hips down between their heels. So I really like using the medicine ball to get a kid to squat down to depth. Next two tips are quick, relatively simple. First, I would keep the reps relatively low. I would say the 4 to 6 rep range. So basically 5. This is low enough that it pushes them, but it also keeps their attention span. I feel like when I do sets of 8, 10, 12, which I've seen some people do when they're training kids because they're risk averse, and so they want to keep the weight light, just do higher reps. When I have kids do 8, 10, 12, plus, which is rarely ever, they're just very sloppy. And so they're either in a rush to get to the end, so their first reps are sloppy, or after 4 to 6 reps, they start getting really sloppy because they're tired and they just want to get the set over with. So their technique kind of falls all over the place. So I keep the reps 4 to 6 generally. If I want to do higher volume for the lower body, I'm going to have them do it in the form of walking bodyweight lunges, squat jumps for higher reps, sled pushes, and things like that. Keeping the reps between 4 to 6 allows me to add a good amount of load while still keeping their attention span. And sometimes I'll give them the illusion of choice. I'll say, you want to do 4 sets of 6, or you want to do 5 sets of 5, or you want to do 6 sets of 4. And sometimes they feel like, ooh, I get to play with numbers and pick. Sometimes they say, I don't care. And the final tip that I have is, if you find that your kid is rushing through the reps, they'll squat down, they'll come up, they'll finish off balance, and then they'll start the next rep off balance, and so they're just moving all over the place. I tell them to do what I call double paused squats. Squat down, pause, up, pause, breathe, brace, squat. Up, breathe, brace. I tell them, stop at the top, stop at the top. Sometimes I have to yell it because they'll go like this. Stop at the top, stop at the top, stop, 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 stop. Wait, big breath, brace, down, up, wait. I tell them to stop, reset. It's going to teach them how to breathe, how to brace. It's going to get them to be a little more robotic about their approach, which usually leads to just a better overall squat. One thing that I used to be really stubborn about was always needing to teach every athlete the same way, to every lifter the same way. Can't use any tools, can't use a box, can't use a medicine ball. Just teach them the pure squat. And everyone's squat had to look the exact same. And I just feel like nowadays, if someone comes to me and says, I just need to be stronger, I just want stronger legs, whether they do a box squat, a squat to a medicine ball, a normal squat, an SSB squat, even a heavy dumbbell goblet squat, or a hack squat or a belt squat, it doesn't really matter because they are getting stronger, they're building muscle, increasing bone density, all that kind of stuff. Now, if they were to say, I need to power lift, I'm training for a powerlifting competition, yeah, there's a certain standard we need to uphold. But if the athlete comes to me in a short period of time and they just need to get a little bit stronger and we need to use a box, that's fine. The caveat I will say is, I've had a kid come to me, his parents brought him to me because he was getting coached in the weight room by his football coach, and he didn't think he was getting very good advice. So I wanted to teach him how to squat without a box, without a medicine ball, because that's how he's going to be squatting in the weight room. He's not going to use a box. So I have to stick to teaching him how to squat without any of these tools that he could use. But the majority of the time, yeah, if you need to use a medicine ball or a box squat to teach depth, nothing wrong with that. It doesn't have to last forever either. You can phase it out as the lifter gets more and more proficient. That's it. Hopefully that was helpful. Thanks for watching, and always remember, try down time.